Can you hear? More? More. Okay.
Check 1 2.
Vorrei cominciare con le parole di Vittorio Arrigoni. A qualunque latitudine facciamo parte della stessa comunità. Ogni uomo, ogni donna, ogni piccolo di questo pianeta, ovunque nasca. Evviva il diritto alla vita e alla dignità. Gli stessi diritti che rivendichiamo per noi appartengono anche a tutti gli altri e le altre. Senza alcuna eccezione restiamo umani, anche quando intorno a noi l'umanità pare si sia persa. E effettivamente mi pare che questa umanità si sia veramente persa. Al mio popolo sono sempre stati negati i diritti più fondamentali, la vita e la dignità. Lo dimostrano le parole del ministro della difesa, Yoav Gallant, quando ha detto non devono avere corrente elettrica, benzina, cibo, acqua, combattiamo gli animali umani e agiamo di conseguenza. Quello che è avvenuto il 7 ottobre non è giustificabile e vorrei sottolineare che essere palestinese non è sinonimo di stare con Hamas come viene riportato dai nostri media. Tuttavia, l'attacco del 7 ottobre deve essere
To discuss that clash, we have with us 1996 World Cup winning coach Dav Whatmore. Dav, another very impressive all-round display by New Zealand.
I term it clinical and professional, really. It was just a job well done. And to restrict Bangladesh to 240-odd was a good effort. The wicket really was probably worth more than that.
Yeah.
But because of their disciplined effort in the ball, they managed to restrict them to that score, and it was just a clinical way they went about chasing that target.
Okay, we have to talk about Kane Williamson. First, let's talk about his innings. He was returning after 7 months out, but, he took absolutely no time to get his rhythm back.
No, he didn't, and that was after 50 overs on the field too, which was an area where he had to pass a fitness test to ensure that he gets a game. So after 50 overs, then to come in early in the batting order too, because the wicket fell fairly early, and to play the way he did was almost like he hadn't missed anything. He's that good a player. He just continued on where he was months ago before that knee operation. So he was just a wonderful batsman, as we all know, and certainly didn't take any time at all to get back into the rhythm and groove of batting.
Okay, we have the scorecard with us now. We were discussing before the match what a good score on this pitch is, and I think all of us went for about the early 200s. You at one point said even 190.
190, I did. I was basing that on the pitch that was served up for the Australians.
Yeah.
But this one was a little bit better, a bit more grass on it, and it was good even bounce. So it really was a pitch that was worth a bit more than 250, I reckon.
So,
okay, here we go. Mushfiqur Rahim and Shakib Al Hassan were the two boys that rescued. Bangladesh was in a bit of a precarious position when they batted first, and Mahmudullah put the icing on the cake later, which for me was a little surprising that he batted at number 8, 6 wickets down. He's very experienced batsman. I would have liked him up a little bit, to ensure that he gets more time to play, but there you are. We don't make those decisions.
How many runs do you think Bangladesh fell short of?
I reckon they were easy, another 40. They could get another 40. Yeah, easy. If they hadn't lost those top order, because the wicket was good. It was much better than I thought it was. And then you have Lockie Ferguson, who got man of the match today with 3 for 49, and he bowled with a lot of fire and pace.
Yeah.
And did very well. Trent Bolt, of course, picked up his 200th ODI wicket today, and he returned with 2 wickets. And Matt Henry, again, 2 wickets. That puts him equal leader with Santner on 8 wickets for the tournament. So he's continuing to do well and put pressure on their selectors to ensure that he gets picked.
You were speaking of the Chennai wicket being a turning one, but if you see the New Zealand guys, 3 wickets from Lockie Ferguson, Trent Bolt getting 2, and Matt Henry getting 2. So
it's
not all for the spinners.
Yeah. So therefore, my prediction of Ish Shodhi playing, and not getting picked was the correct. I was wrong, and they read the wicket well, but we haven't got the luxury.
Yes.
Putting your fingers down and touching it, or having a look at close quarters. So they did their homework pretty well, and they picked the right combination.
Well, obviously, Daryl Mitchell, he sort of grooved his way in, then he accelerated.
Daryl Mitchell did well, eh? He's had limited opportunities as well. So has Glenn Phillips. Is that 116 for Glenn Phillips?
It's 16 there.
That's 16, he's also had a small opportunity to bat because some of those batters don't get much. Well, Mark Chapman hasn't come to the crease yet, so I think if they are in a position to, mix and match a little bit in the near future, and the matches coming, then I think they may do that. Yeah.
Okay, Dav. It's unfortunately Williamson, who was looking good in good touch, but he got injured on his thumb, and then he was forced to retire hurt. Yeah. Do you reckon they'll rest him for the next match?
Hard to say. If it's a bruise, he's got a chance. But that was like 1,000 to 1, maybe more, 1,000-1 chance of it happening. Where when you're just pulling up at the non-strikers and taking a single or a two, I can't remember what it was. He's just pulling up, and the left thumb, which is unprotected, is a right-hand batsman. So the right hand has got the protection on the thumb, not the left hand. He was holding the bat with the left hand, and at right angles, the ball just came across at a fairly decent pace and just jammed his thumb between the bat handle and the ball. Very painful. Yeah, absolutely very painful.
In fact, we were watching the match together, and you made that point at the time that it's difficult to hold your bat. It's difficult to grip the bat. So obviously,
especially with the amount of tape that physio was putting on. It was like a boxer, you know, the tape they put on their hands before it goes in the main boxing glove. I didn't know how he even got the hand in the glove, but he had to. He couldn't continue on. But he did a wonderful job before that. So he's, what did he get?
And once again, like you say, he played the situation. New Zealand didn't need to accelerate at that point. And of course, it's a perfect situation for someone like Williamson to come in and just accumulate those runs.
In contrast to India when they played there, you know, they lost 3 wickets very early. So New Zealand, of course, had the luxury of knowing maybe, you know, how to confirm the way they go in the second innings, and they did it so well. So they didn't get too many runs in that first 10, less than Bangladesh, but, you know, they were only 1 wicket down, and they paced their chase really well. It was clinical, it was professional.
If you think Williamson, now they have a few days before their next match. New Zealand.
4, I think.
Yeah, I think it's on a Wednesday that they play Afghanistan, which you would say is very much a winnable game for them. They would be favourite. So if Williamson, say, is not 100% fit, do you think they'll go with him in the 11?
No. I think really, if there's no point, you know, risking an injury, although this is an impact injury on the left hand. If it's not broke, I'm sure he'll have an X-ray just to confirm otherwise. But if it's a bruise, then I think, you know, a lot of treatment, a lot of ice, a bit of pain. But the physios just love to give players some pain. And after a couple of days, he may be able to just knock the ball around. It's important that he actually puts the hand in the glove and hits a few. Difficult to come after 4 days off cold and not even touching a bat. So, you know, a lot will depend on how that responds if it's not broken.
Okay, hopefully we'll be able to see the points table here very soon. New Zealand are top of the table, 3 wins out of 3, 6 points out of a possible 6. And honestly, Dab, we were discussing before the clash if there are any weaknesses in the team, and you failed to find any concrete weaknesses, and that's still the case. I mean, they just look a very, very efficient outfit. Yeah,
they've played really well, haven't they? They've read the conditions. They've had individual match-winning performances. It's hard to see, you know, they're just rolling along just nicely. So, as I said, it's a matter of now ensuring that their preparation is very good for every game and keep enjoying it.
And of course, they have Team Saudi yet to come. So one of their best players, best pacers, most experienced players yet to come. So they have all the luxuries right now. And obviously not the best news with Kane Williamson, but it is understood that they retired him as a precautionary measure. So hopefully it's nothing too serious and he will return.
And Will Young will be getting extra practice. Just in case he has to come back in again.
The thing about New Zealand is in every match they've had different players who have stepped up. First match we saw Rachin Ravindra and Devon Conway. In the second match it was Mitchell Santner, and you saw Lockie Ferguson and Daryl Mitchell stepping up in this one. So all of their players, I mean, they're getting everything right at the moment.
Absolutely, and you know, good luck to them. And they'll be. I reckon they're going to be, you know, a real threat to every team that they play.
Okay, Dav, it's time for No More with What More. That's as you point out, it's KNOW.
Thank you.
Not
Thank you,
NO. Yes. Okay. So we have our questions. Is this New Zealand side the most lethal at this World Cup? Lethal?
No.
No. Not yet. It's still early days.
You've seen a couple of other teams who are probably more lethal. This team does it clinically, does it, does it well, does it consistently. So lethal, I wouldn't associate that word with New Zealand.
Okay, we have another question. What could Bangladesh have done differently today to beat New Zealand?
Certainly they had to put more runs on the board. When you looked at the pitch to see how it was playing, then for sure I reckon they were short, and I'm sure they would also agree with that too. When you looked at the last 2 or 3 overs where Mahmudullah made merry, they could have easily have, put on another 40-odd, I reckon, which would give the bowlers something more to bowl. And they started well. They hit a length. The direction was very good. They got a wicket early-ish. So, more runs on the board would psychologically been a little harder for New Zealand. I still think they would have won, but they would have been made to work harder for that win.
Okay, there's some words about Daryl Mitchell. Saresh says, Daryl Mitchell is perhaps the best number 4 in the competition. The way he plays his shots, especially down the ground, is amazing to watch. Best number 4, but that's a big statement.
What number does the Pakistan? Who bats number 4 for Pakistan? Mohammed Rizwan. I'm not sure that.
Yes.
I think you're
a huge fan of Mohammed Rizwan.
He'll give him a fight, a run for his money. So look, Daryl Mitchell, great, very good. But a few more games, we can see if there is which player will get their nose ahead. But at the moment, I think Mohammed Rizwan, he's done very well.
Okay. Now Bangladesh, as a few comments here coming in who are agreeing with what you're saying, but we have a Bangladesh specific question now. Can the Tigers still think about sealing the semi-final spot?
Yes, they have to do that. If you don't think positively, if you don't plan to do that, if you don't, as Tamim Iqbal said, if you don't dream of playing in the World Cup semi-final and then the final, then no point playing. So they have to believe that they can do it. So they have to prepare in that way and play positively and give themselves every chance. But again, the opposition has a say in this too. It's not just a one-way street. So they'll be tested, and depending on how you respond to those, periods of pressure, will determine whether they can string a few more wins together.
Yeah, I think Bangladesh so far have played Afghanistan, England and New Zealand. Yeah. So the game they were expected to win, they did. Yeah. But against stronger opposition, they struggled. And fairly, they did not really put up a fight. I think that's what will be disappointing for them.
This one's a little bit better for them than England, I think.
Yeah. They still need to work on their batting, especially the spinners. Didn't really challenge the New Zealand. They were always very comfortable today.
They haven't had a good start, have they? They lose the first wicket pretty early in every game, so they need to fix up a few areas, and that's one of them.
Okay, a few more comments coming in. Mona says Kane Williamson's comeback is greater than the setback. So the setback being the injury. Yeah. Well, I mean, 7 months out, not playing a competitive match, but just shows you the caliber of the player. Just did not take any time, and the maturity of the innings was just exceptional. Surely.
I mean, he's just an out-and-out professional. He just knows what job he has to do, and more often than not, he gets that job done. It was just not many players would do that with her, Not many players have the ability to come and perform like that.
Okay, let's take another comment. Ambika says New Zealand wins one more game with a thorough professional approach, a slightly below par target, but pretty impressive opening phase bowling by Bangladesh when New Zealand gave up on flashy fireworks in pursuit of astronomical net run rate and they worked clinically on winning the game. Well, it's she's assuming that other teams chase those net run rates, but I think it was fairly overall. It was a very clinical performance.
Yes.
Go ahead, you can pick it up, no worries there.
Yeah, look, true. I mean, other teams may be in a position that they have to accelerate to get that net run rate up in the future. That may have to, but New Zealand's in a very comfortable position, having have a big net run rate at the first game. So, you know, and their second game didn't do any harm either. So they're okay. They can just motor along a little bit. But some of the other teams at some point may be thinking, gee, you know, we need to up that net run rate. And if they start to think of that a little bit earlier, they could get in a little bit of trouble.
Okay, Dav, thanks as always for your insights. Don't forget, there is that big India-Pakistan clash that we will be building up to before the game, and obviously during the match in the mid-innings, and obviously we'll be doing a comprehensive review of the match on WION World of Cricket. As far as today, New Zealand have made it 3 wins out of 3, and let's hope that Kane Williamson does not have a very serious injury. That's it from us today. On his
To do that, you know, if you don't think positively, if you don't plan to do that, if you don't, as Tamim Iqbal said, if you don't dream of playing in the World Cup semi-final and then the final, if you don't think positively, if you don't plan to do that, if you don't, as Tamim Iqbal said, if you don't dream of playing in the World Cup semi-final and then the final, if you don't think positively, if you don't plan to do that, if you don't, as Tamim Iqbal said, if you don't dream of playing in the World Cup semi-final and then the final, if you don't think positively, if you don't plan to do that, if you don't, as Tamim Iqbal said, if you don't dream of playing in the World Cup semi-final and then the final, if you don't think positively, if you don't plan to do that, if you don't, as Tamim to do that, if you don't, as Tamim Iqbal said, if you don't dream of playing in the World Cup semi-final and then the final, if you don't think positively, if you don't plan to do that, if you don't, as Tamim to do that, if you don't, as Tamim Iqbal said, if you don't dream of playing in the World Cup semi-final and then the final, if you don't think positively, if you don't plan to do that, if you don't, as Tamim get their nose ahead, but at the moment I think Mohammed Usman is done very well.
Okay, now Bangladesh has few comments here coming in with the green.
If you don't plan, get their nose ahead, but at the moment I think Mohammed Usman is done very well.
Okay, now Bangladesh has few comments here coming in with the green.
If you don't plan, get their nose ahead, but at the moment I think Mohammed Usman is done very well.
Okay, now Bangladesh has few comments here coming in with the green.
If you don't plan, get their nose ahead, but at the moment I think Mohammed Usman is done very well.
Okay, now Bangladesh has few comments here coming in with the green.